What's going on, guys? It's Fantasy Gurus here, coming at you with another video. Please, if you find this content, educational, helpful, please like and subscribe. And also, if you have any questions about your fantasy team, trade targets, anything like that, please feel free to comment, and I will get back to you. Literally here because I do all of the dirty work that nobody else wants to do, so I'm here to help. Don't have a ton of subscribers because I'm brand new, but I promise you, if you do get back, I will offer you my advice. And from there, we're going to get into the top 5 trade targets for going into week 2 for running backs. So there's going to be my top 5 running backs that I'm going to be targeting for week 2. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. Number 1, and this is actually going to be my number 1 trade target for the entire week, and that's going to be Khalil Herbert. Okay, so let's talk about Khalil Herbert. He is available in 59% of the leagues, so you should, majority of you will be able to get him. And why him? One, let's talk about the week he had: 9 rushes, 45 yards, and a touchdown, 10.8 fantasy points on the day. Now, his touchdown he had was on the game-winning drive. So from there, Montgomery, he handled a lot of the workload. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he was the one who they chose at the end of the game with it on the line to go ahead and get into the end zone. So that tells me going forward that Khalil Herbert is going to be more involved because ultimately he's just more efficient. He's better. He's the better player. And it's been proven not only this year, but last year. This game alone, right? He was out-touched by Montgomery. 21 total touches for Montgomery, 10 for Herbert, okay? But on Montgomery's 17 rush attempts, he only had 26 yards versus that 9 rush attempts to 45 for Herbert. So clearly he's the more efficient back, at least in game 1. But, last season, Montgomery, he missed weeks 5 through 8. And during that time, Herbert had 18 plus carries and averaged 86 yards per game. And during that time that Montgomery was out, he averaged 12.3 fantasy points per game, which to me is good enough for a running back 2 position. And, just going back to efficiency, Montgomery last year averaged 3.8 yards per carry versus Herbert, who was 4.2. So clearly, from a rushing standpoint, Herbert is the more efficient back, and only time of him continuing to prove himself game after game, they will finally realize that. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Montgomery did have a great fantasy season last year, but that was due to really 2 factors. One, he is a good pass catching back, and honestly, I think he's a little bit better than Herbert when it comes to that. But he was saved ultimately too by touchdowns. So from there, as the season goes on, I really do believe that Herbert is going to take over the rushing duties, and you should see more of, at least the next couple of weeks coming forward, 50-50 split, but then ultimately Herbert taking over because he's clearly more efficient. He's better, and it just needs to happen. But also, he's going to be the one that's going to be taking over the goal line carry. So he's going to be getting those touchdowns that ultimately Montgomery vultured. I still expect Montgomery to be fully, efficient in the passing game, deserving so. He's clearly the better passing back, and he is very efficient. So look for him to be involved in that. And then as the season goes on, just progressing to Herbert being that full-time rusher. So from there, he is, my number 1 trade or waiver wire target of the week. Number 2, and this isn't in no particular order at this point, but Isaiah Pacheco, he's super hot. Everybody wants the name. He's on the Chiefs. Available in 69% of your leagues. Now, he had a great week, right? 12 carries, 62 yards, a touchdown. Couldn't ask for much more. But let's hold on here because he didn't have any of those carries, any of those opportunities when the game was actually close. He only had that when the game was out of reach. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the number one back here. He's the one who is going to be getting everything. And if the game was close, Pacheco would have never had those opportunities. But with that being said, from a rookie standpoint, him getting those numbers, 12, 62, and a touchdown, that is great. He showed flashes of greatness. He looked good. He's quick. Nice change of pace. But to me, he's more of a person I stash on the bench. I'm not saying don't get him, but don't start him next week. It's more of a injury or, unless we continue to drastically see Pacheco just absolutely dominating the 4 to 5 attempts he's going to have a week, then, maybe there's a role for him. But from now, he's just definitely worth the stash, somebody worth targeting, and somebody who, depending on what happens injury-wise or, play-wise, somebody who could potentially be useful for the second half of the season. But going on to number 3, and this is actually my number 2 targeted back for the week, is going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. We've heard this name, and I feel like every single year he comes up, he's available in 84% of your leagues. So definitely want you to go out and go get him. This is a run-first offense. It's next man up type of scenario. Elijah Mitchell, going to be out for like roughly 2 weeks. And draft capital wise, it doesn't matter who you are. They want somebody who they really trust and feel like it's going to be the best to be out there. And that's why, last year you saw Trey Sermon. Jeff Wilson, when everyone got injured, he was still the next man up. This year, Tyrion Davis-Price, right? He's fully healthy. He was listed as a healthy scratch. So that tells me that Wilson is the man to own in this backfield. They're very efficient. You still have Debo, maybe an Ayuk, Trey Lance. All of them are going to be getting carries, but with Jeff Wilson, he's proven himself time over time. You go back 2020, his game log, week 7, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns versus New England. That's 31 fantasy points a game, and I know that was 2 years ago. Then in week 16, same year, versus Arizona, he had 204 yards, touchdown, good enough for 26.9 fantasy points. And then the game after that, which was Seattle, hit 88 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 22.3 fantasy points. So, he has that proven history. We go 1 year further. So dating back to last year, 2021, he had, weeks 15 and 16 where he actually got those opportunities. Weeks 15, it was against Atlanta. It was 21 attempts. He had 110 yards and a touchdown, good enough for 18.9 fantasy points. And then week 16, he was against Tennessee, and he had 13.2 fantasy points. So this is a guy who can fall into that running back 2 target if he's given the opportunities. And from what I'm seeing here, it looks like he is about to get them. So definitely somebody who, to me, is a must-add on that waiver wire target. Definitely over Pacheco and, competing with Herbert. Moving on to number 4, and I can't believe I'm still saying this name, and congrats to him, Rex Burkhead, 32 years old, continues to still stay in the league, get it done, and, he's not the most efficient, he's not the most skilled, but he, when he's not hurt, he gets those touches, so something sees in him, and from there, Dameon Pierce was all the talk. He was like 100 plus ADP, went down to like 70, 60, 50. He was getting drafted in the 4th round in some of my leagues. But at the end of the day, it was Rex Burkhead who commanded the touches. He played on 71% of the downs. For a skill player, the only one who was better than that was Brandon Cooks, and he outsnapped Pierce by 30 snaps. He's available in 87% of your leagues, 19 total touches, 14 rushes, 5 receptions on 8 targets, 70 total yards. Now, that's the volume of a running back 1 that you want. Obviously, the productivity is not going to be there, but he's the clear-cut receiving back on the team. They clearly favored him as of now over Pierce. And the one thing is, they played a hell of a game. And they ended up tying, which I didn't expect, and I really don't expect it for the rest of the year. They're going to fall behind early and often. Clearly, there's one favorite back that they have who is going to be commanding the targets out of the backfield. That's Rex Burkhead, not Dameon Pierce. Expect him to fall behind early and often, and Rex Burkhead rack up those targets. But again, he's 32 years old, borderline flex option. but somebody who is worth targeting and, seeing how the volume pertains. And if it stays consistent, I would consider putting him in my flex. I think he did well enough, but, only time will tell. It's just somebody that I would recommend targeting versus what else is out there. And, moving on to last, it's going to be Benjamin. He's available in 92% of your leagues. His stats for week 1, 4 attempts, 3 catches, 7 total touches, good for 61 total yards. From a touch to yard ratio, I think that's very, very good. Why did he even get those touches? Because they were completely behind, so they, were out of the game, and he, prove himself. I think that's a good first step for him. Running back 2, very skilled pass catcher. And, again, he was there because they were getting demolished. He's a good insurance back to have. If Connor were to ever go down, I think he really does. Just looking at his frame, his size, his ability, he has the ability to be a 3-down back. So, given injury history for Connor, but if something were to happen, I think he, is an instant start. Running back 2, maybe even running back 1. All in all, though, let's hope Connor stays healthy. If he does, I definitely see him playing more of a prominent role, especially in the pass catching situations, because I'm looking at James Conner. I see him getting the ball. That guy moves, straight up and down. There's literally zero lateral movement that he has. He's great knack for finding the end zone. But other than that, he's just not going to go ahead and catch a screen pass and take it for 40 yards. He's just going straight up and down. So from there, I do think that Benjamin is going to play a more prominent role. And I think it's definitely somebody who, again, is not worth starting, but stashing on your roster, seeing how it plays out. And he's a good insurance policy to have. Other than that, those are going to be my top 5. Next video, I'm going to go into receivers. So please, if you guys enjoyed this, you found it useful, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any comments, again, I will reach out and comment back, give you my honest opinion. But overall, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Fantasy Gurus. We'll see you next time. All right. Thank you.